What's up, guys? This is Richard Lung slash Tentacles and Teeth. I've had some people contact me through Facebook and ask about, tips and stuff on how to sketch better and do art. So I'm definitely not the best, not an expert, but I love what I do. I have a lot of passion for it, so I can give you sort of some advice on how I approach my art and how I think you can approach it to become a better artist and just enjoy art more. So I'm just gonna do one of these Cthulhu sketches that I am doing for the limited edition versions of my art book. So as I draw it, I'll kind of talk about my process a little bit, and I'll also talk about sort of ways you can approach art. And yeah, so I guess I'll start off by going through my setup here. I draw on my computer. It's just easier. I have access to all my tools and everything. Tools meaning my Wacom, which is my digital tablet. My computer's here. As for my sketching tools, I use these Draftmatic pencils, and these are really awesome. Before I used to use just regular pencil or even these kind of colored pencils. I like the softness of it, and I was able to fill in my shading quicker, and I sort of just like the feel of the pencil. It was soft. So but what was really annoying about these though is that you had to sharpen them all the time. So having to sharpen it, I just felt like it just slowed me down, so I didn't like having to do that all the time. So I eventually got into mechanical pencils because I like doing clean, sharp lines, but this took a lot to get used to because everything is so precise, and you don't have sort of the side of a pencil where it's like a large flat area. Every line is always sharp, so it takes some getting used to, but eventually now it's hard for me to actually draw with standard pencils. I am so used to the mechanical ones. So if you're not used to mechanical and you want to try it, you should definitely do so. You might like it, but it's not necessary. The other things I got are the Sanford Pink Pearl eraser. This is just a really awesome eraser. It doesn't smear the lead, which a lot of cheaper erasers do. It's nice because it's like in pencil form. It's easy to store. It's erases clean. You can do sort of more fine erasing. Then I also use this eraser here, which is a Mono Zero. I think it's like a Japanese brand or something, but I think it's Tombow maybe is the company. This is really cool, but this is like a really precise eraser, so you can do like sort of fine cleanup. Excuse my throat clearing. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna try to keep this as casual as possible. I'm kind of just doing this on the fly, so bear with me. I'm not talking clearly and stumble over myself. So this is just a basic sketchbook. I like it to be tilted up a little bit, so I actually put my wallet under it. Just rig it all up. All right. So I want to say before I start, I just want to say, if I want to give any kind of tips for just overall art, is a lot of people think that it's, you have to be talented to be an artist, but in reality, it's really just about the passion. So, if you love art and you really want to do it, then all it takes is the passion and putting in the hours to become better as an artist, to look around you and soak in everything that's, when it comes to light and color, the way the shapes are, the anatomy of things, all the objects in the world, how they relate to each other. You kind of soak all that stuff in if you're passionate about art. Also looking at other people's art, and kind of figuring out what they do. But yeah, it's really, you're not born an artist and just able to kick ass. It's just how much you love to do it and the hours that you put into it. It's not just drawing an hour a day, but drawing all day long and drawing, for months, for years, and you're definitely going to see the difference. If you drew every single day for, a week, you'll see the difference. You do it for a month, you'll see more of a difference, and so forth. And I've been drawing since I was a kid, and I know myself that I could be even better if I would have put in even more hours. If I were to just lock myself in my room and just draw all day and just do nothing but study, I'd be freaking badass. But, I balance myself with playing games, watching movies, all that kind of stuff. And, I'm still good, but, it's the amount of hours I put in, it accumulates to what I've become as an artist now. So, one of the things you really need to do is, like I said, put in the hours, but also really analyze sort of everything around you. And whether it is you like to watch games or watch movies or play games, just like look at when you're watching a movie, those are all artists that work on those films. They create those shots, those angles, that lighting, that really make it look like a piece of art. And there's a lot to learn from that. So when you watch that, let it inspire you and sort of study what you're watching. Use it to create a catalog in your mind of all the different things that you see. So if you watch a bunch of horror movies and play a bunch of, video games with monsters and everything, you should be cataloging all of that information, the way that like fish gills are and, the mouths and the teeths and the eyes, all these different kinds of monsters they have. And remembering that, and you can apply it to your own art. And same goes for looking at photos, just watching like Discovery Channel, that kind of stuff. There's a lot, everything that people create is pulled from real life. It's the stuff that they see. So, it's if they're seeing, a lot of aquatic animals, fish, and, let's say like insides, like organs and stuff like that, you kind of can see how things are wet material and how different objects and material interact with each other, and how intestines look, and how veins look, skin, how it can differ from fish scales and skin. And you can use that, then you can apply it to the way that you design monsters. So you're not just like drawing random lines and everything. It's all pulled from information that you've cataloged from all the different things that you've seen and experienced. So it's really important to keep like looking and keep just experiencing a lot. Sometimes people ask about like style and stuff too, like how do they feel like they don't have a style or of art. But in reality, that's just with time. It's once again, it's with the passion and the hours that you put in. So you're going to be influenced by all the different things that you're surrounded with. So if you like love a comic book artist and you do nothing but copy his work for like, all growing up and now, your style is probably going to look a lot like his work, but it's still going to be a little bit different because it's going to be influenced by the way you saw his art, the different things that you've seen. And if you look at a lot of different work, then you're going to be influenced a lot more by everybody else, by different things. And I think it's going to mesh together to create a more unique style and a different way that you can see things, because it'll be sort of like a combination of just a meld of different things, all the experiences that you've had. But yeah, I think that's sort of my art theory / passion talk. So here, let me get into actual drawing. You can see how I do this. All right, so usually when I start these drawings, I try to stay loose. What I have here is a 0.5 millimeter lead and then a 0.7. I kind of switch back and forth between these two. So I'll just use this 0.7 first, which is this blue pencil. So I try to stay loose at this point, and I'm just kind of like feeling out different forms. So, I know Cthulhu has like a big octopus head in the back, so I kind of use that a lot of times to start off. I'm staying loose. I'm not trying to be too tight with what kind of things I'm drawing. So I'm just kind of like creating forms loosely, and then using those to build sort of forms from. So, head, I'm going to work down to the tentacles here. One of the things, when I work on tentacles, it's really easy to make it just look like a jumbled mess of like, squiggly lines and stuff. So, I've drawn a lot of them now, so there's a way that I do it, and I always try to watch out for tangent lines, which, if you don't know, tangent lines are like when two lines meet up with each other, but they meet in a like an uncompositional way. It's not appealing. So it's like having a line like meet up with it, and it looks weird. It's almost like it looks like you can't tell what's going on. So when I try to draw these tentacles, because there's so many lines, I really try to keep that in mind with the way that I'm curling the tentacles around, and to make sure that they don't interfere with one another, so that there's some harmony there. And I'm always thinking about composition as I'm sketching here. This is the point where I can kind of lay everything out so that it's almost like a loose template for me to draw, so that I don't start drawing in dark and then things start looking like ass and I can't go back and erase it, because it looks bad. So here I'm just drawing some shapes at the back of his head, maybe some like little suction cup things, some barnacle type shapes. I have a lot of different ways that I draw Cthulhu. I usually try to stay pretty loose with it and not like be too rigid with drawing the same way each time. So, but all those shapes that I've drawn with the different Cthulhus, it's really just from experience. So, it's me drawing some that look like crap, and you learn a lot from failure. So you definitely can't give up if you draw crappy looking stuff, because we all have. Even the absolute best artists have drawn just absolute garbage. But it's how you learn from those mistakes and use it to improve yourself is what makes a good artist. And like I said, it's that passion, right? It's that you can push through something, even though you might not be good right now. It doesn't matter. You're not going to let something like that stop you. So you can keep on working, and your stuff's going to keep getting better, because it's guaranteed that it will. You just have to keep on working. So I'm starting to draw on some eyes and stuff here, a little bit of sort of this nose area, but nothing set in stone. It's just me kind of feeling out cool shapes. I use sort of my loose sketch lines to sort of sometimes just create shapes for me. So I'm drawing it, and I didn't intend for something to be there, but as I'm drawing, I might see something, right? So it's a thing where a lot of artists use the term happy accidents. So that's kind of what I'm doing, but it's I'm not cheating or anything. It's just they're my lines. I'm drawing these shapes. It's just when I see something, I'm kind of oh yeah, that could actually be this now instead, or this or whatever. So it's cool. We always have artistic license to do whatever the hell we want. That's what's awesome about art, man. You create your own world. You do whatever you want. Is this picking up on camera? Let me see. Let me come right back. Let me see if I can darken this video a little bit. Maybe I can at least zoom in. Okay. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, a little bit closer. Okay, well, okay, so I kind of have some shapes in there that I'd like to go off of. So usually when I start, I like to start drawing something that I can grasp onto. So a lot of time that's like an eye. So just kind of start drawing the eye that I put in. When I draw and I'm darkening in these lines, I'm trying to always think, I always have things that are going through my head at all times, right? So it's composition, my line weight, the lighting that I want to have in the scene. So I'm pretty loose with the lighting when I'm doing these kind of sketches, because it is a sketch. But I usually try to think of, the light as the light source coming from up top here. So I create shadows and I shade based on that. So, I'm not going to start putting shadows on the top where the light's hitting because that makes no sense, right? Shadows being cast on the opposite side of where the light's hitting. So by doing that, you're going to make things feel a lot more realistic and a lot more believable. So when if you start to like shade stuff all crazy, then it's not going to make sense, because then as the human eyes, like we can pick up when stuff looks wrong, right? So that's why when somebody draws like a human and the face looks weird, like you can usually pick up on that because people see faces every single day. So like, something that people see with lightings, like you see that every single day, everywhere you look, you sort of instinctually know that, like, light works a certain way and shadows work a certain way. As artists, you have to do critical thinking and think of, like, apply it to your art. Those things, theories, methods, whatever. Like I said, man, this is all these marks, all these shapes I'm making. This is all just loose stuff that was created from me just sort of like loosely sketching. I'm trying to, I draw stuff as I go. I'm bouncing around a little bit. I like to use a piece of paper here to block my hand. That's just so like the pencil doesn't smear, because it will. Graphite that's just the nature of it. Annoying, actually. So I'm constantly looking for these interesting shapes, right? So something called shape language. Just want stuff to be able to read. It's key to not, you don't want to just start drawing like random crap everywhere, right? Because if you do that, usually it looks like crap. It doesn't read, or it just doesn't look cool. Like the harmony of the piece, it doesn't make sense. So what you want to do is try to think of different sized objects, different sized details in your piece. Oh, sorry about that. You don't want everything to just be a bunch of like little like, pores and nicks and like marks everywhere, because then what are you looking at? There's nothing that you can grasp onto. But if you draw large details along with small details, along with medium-sized details, you're able to lead the viewer's eye and tell them what story you want to tell, how you want them to read your design. Right, so I'm going to have these small eyes. I'm going to have them a little bit darker so I can pull the viewer's eye to them. Also have these, like, I'm planning on doing some, like, large surface on the forehead, so that'll break up some of the space, some of those details as well. I'm kind of I'm just going to do these like little like vent socket things on him. I don't just draw shapes just to draw them, like I said, the shape language, but I also try to think of a story as I'm drawing too. So like, what's the purpose of like the thing that I'm drawing, right? So I don't want to just draw holes and like details everywhere. I want to try to think of like, hey, this is, obviously I'm a Cthulhu, I have eyes, he has this octopus head, but when it comes to these details, I'm thinking, all right, so these little things should sort of like be like breathing holes, right? Like either that, like water comes out of them, or maybe they glow, right? So it's kind of a cool like bioluminescence thing that comes out of those sockets. Try to think if this creature or this drawing was like in real space, how would it look cool? Like I said, like in movies, right? Like, man, this stuff moves, and video games, it moves, and you see it come to life, and like this stuff looks amazing. So it's cool for you to design stuff if you want to be professional, or just, you want to make cool looking stuff that other people can relate to. you want it to make sense too, right? And tell a story. So like they can look at it and be like, oh man, I can imagine that thing like, you know, coming out of the water, or you know, coming out of the darkness, or coming out of my closet or whatever, and scaring the shit out of me. So it's our job, it's your job as an artist to do that. You're creating worlds and monsters and all this stuff for people to see, and it's pretty awesome that we can do that. So I'm just gonna draw these like little suction cup socket things on the side of his head here. You know, when drawing, the more you draw too, you can see like I'm not necessarily drawing like every single detail when it comes to like these little sockets, right? I'm not like doing these super clean lines to make sure that I'm drawing every line to describe them. So what you can do is you can imply stuff. And sorry if I'm telling a lot of information, I'm just kind of like winging it as I go along here. So just all the different stuff that goes through my head. But implying detail is like a really powerful tool. So what it does is it saves you time, first of all, but it also actually is more effective tool than just drawing everything you see, right? So when you imply detail, the viewer can sort of like fill in the blanks. So if you draw something like, you know, like here, for example, I'm gonna do these like the surface, top of his head. I don't have to like be super fine with like the details. What I'm doing is I'm implying sort of shading and shape here, right? So I'm following the form, and I'm letting the viewer now, when he looks at it, he's going to be able to like sort of look at that and put two and two together, and tell the rest of the story in his head. Becomes more effective than if I were to like try to like completely super render it. Which you can super render stuff too. That's just like a different style of doing stuff, but it's not necessary. A lot of when you do like concept art or illustration or big scenes with a lot of information in there, implying detail is more effective because it obviously saves you time not having to render everything. But also, I don't know, just it ends up being more realistic. There's some really awesome artists, you know, that everybody, well, not everybody knows, but some of you guys might know, a comic book artist. One of my favorites is Mike Mignola. So he does the Hellboy series, and he's like the king of freaking like implying detail, right? Like he just has giant areas of nothing but black, and it's just like, it's amazing. Like, but you create the story in your mind of like what's in that black area. Like he'll draw a character and it's so simple, but like it reads and is just as effective as somebody were to draw a super rendered character. And that's just him implying the detail. You see that and you know what's going on, and you just kind of fill in the blanks. It looks less busy. That way he could focus on design, just powerful lines, powerful lighting and everything, you know. It's something actually for myself, I still detail quite a bit, right? So, but I really, really idolize him, and I'm trying to constantly sort of push myself to be more loose with my art, because that's what I want to be. That's where I want to take my art. See, sometimes you fuck up. Like there, I don't really like that line that I make. It's a little bit too sharp. It doesn't make sense, right? Like how that sharp line is going there. Let's get rid of that. I'll get rid of this one too. Okay, so right now I'm using the 0.7 lead, and because it's a bigger lead, it tends to like that. It can end up be less sharp of a pencil, but I like that, right? So it gives me another tool in my toolbox I can draw sort of thicker, fatter lines, so it kind of gives like a nice bold mark making for the outline of this drawing. And also I can do dark lines a lot quicker. I can fill in sort of like large areas of dark. So this is just this. So he's used a lot of my drawings. Usually when I draw Cthulhu, I like to sort of like I do darker color for his tentacles at the tips. And I just look at that as sort of when you look at your fingertips, you see the blood kind of like reaches the end of your appendages, and it's a little darker here. It's red, so that's why I like to try to do there. So I imagine his tentacles being all that, you know, blood or whatever at the tips, or it just could be, you know, dirty. I don't know, blood. I don't know. You know, with my mark making, I like to sort of, I kind of do like a semi crosshatch type thing. I change my strokes around. I go, even if I'm shading like a large area, I usually go back and forth. For me, it's just the way I've always drawn. It's a way that, the style that I've kind of built up for myself. So everybody can do something different. So let's see there, I'm just kind of making some marks here to sort of imply form. And what that means is like, you don't want to, I want to create shading and stuff and mark making to sort of imply all the different shapes that are, to sell all the different shapes I'm trying to do here. So like all these alien sort of marks, mark making. So here, it's kind of loose what I created here earlier, his nose area. Fill this out. I think I'm gonna make them sort of like these short tentacle things, right? Not quite pointy, like a little more like weird nubs. So here I'm just kind of making some more marks to sort of make some interesting form. Cthulhu doesn't need a nose. Sometimes I sort of outline loosely what I think the form looks like, or like how the light's hitting it. So if the light's coming from here, imagine the shape to sort of like, I don't know, it's not perfectly round, so I kind of just loosely sort of scribble in, not scribble, but create a contour of a shadow. So just like I said, I stay loose. Let's see, let's crack down the skull a little bit. Let's try the other side of this. Okay. Make it look like a bunch of ground leaf up in there. Weird. That's what's kind of cool about drawing Cthulhu. You can just sort of create weird alien shapes. It's kind of fun. But obviously you're still thinking about design. You know, you're not just drawing some random crap everywhere. Then it looks like random crap. See, and some of these shapes that I'm drawing weren't in the original sketch that I was doing, but as I'm feeling everything out, you know, I start to see like, hey, it needs this. This will fit well in the composition or whatever, so I adjust accordingly. I know I say this a lot, but I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to you guys for following my page, and whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or DeviantArt or whatever. Or even you just supporting Cthulhu Wars, which is cool, because really that's how all this started. Really appreciate you guys following me. It pushes me to kind of create more stuff. Every time you like my page and you share it, it's weird, you know, as an artist, you want to say you don't care, right? You're just making art just to make art, you enjoy it and everything, but, you know, having people accept your art is, you know, it's a big deal. Like, knowing that you guys take your time out of your day to, you know, click like on an image, or like write a comment or something, or even just share to try to spread the word about my art. It means a lot. It's, you know, the internet's a big place. There's a lot of really, really talented people out there. And it's, you know, it can be hard to sort of stand out among all that stuff. So, not that I'm famous by any means or anything, but you guys have made it possible for me to be able to, you know, do this for a living, and I can keep on drawing, do what I love. So yeah, thank you very much. You know, can't stress enough, man. It can be a little bit daunting at first if you're first starting to draw, but just stick with it. It really is, like I said, it's the hours you put in the practice. Your shit's gonna suck. It's just the way it is. But every once in a while you hit these milestones, you know, you study enough, you look at anatomy books, you start drawing from reference, which is super important, by the way, if I haven't said that already. Keep looking up reference and keep like drawing from it, right? Like, don't just copy, but study it. So study why things are shaped the way they are, why the function of shapes, like why they're there. You know, stuff aren't just shaped a certain way for no reason. Like, you know, a skull's shaped a certain way so it can hold the brain in there, and the nose is shaped a certain way so that you can breathe. The nostrils, right? All that kind of stuff. Pay attention to all that stuff as you're studying and as you're drawing. But yeah, just keep sticking with it, man, because it's very fulfilling. It's really awesome to be able to make art, be an artist. So, yeah, don't give up. Failure is just part of the process. What's this tentacle? Getting close to the end with this guy. Sometimes you just kind of create shapes. Like I added that sort of edge of a tentacle there because I felt like it could balance out the design a little bit. So just fill in darkness in here. Right, so getting close, getting close. And if you guys have any questions or comments, you know, feel free to always post stuff on my Facebook page. That's where I really I respond the most. Sorry about that, the battery ran out, so here's the final piece though. Just, it was like an extra minute of drawing. I just had to write my signature, add those last two tentacles there. So, yeah, man. Thanks for watching, and I'm really sorry. I just recognized that I recorded the video sideways, and I think that's like a video recording faux pas, so my bad. It's a lot more annoying to watch a video that way, but I'll add black bars to the side. Kind of sucks, but thanks a lot for watching again, and like I said, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them, and I will try to respond. I love trying to help you guys, and thanks a lot once again for watching. Thanks for following me.